Today we're going to add OIDC Authentication and Authorization to a React Turbo Scaffolding generated application. And this is a movie application that we generated with a single button click. We have plenty of data. We've got actors, and we have built-in sort. We've got built-in paging. We have a special single row view that changes the view to a vertical view, which is ideal for small devices. We have built-in filtering, across all fields, etc. So we're going to add OIDC Authentication and Authorization to this application today. So we'll go to the source code, and we'll start by adding our OIDC login component. And this comes out of a component from Better Software Solutions called OIDC Login, and it's available on the Visual Studio Marketplace as well as bssdev.biz. We don't need to specify a name, so we'll simply click Add. And this item template actually adds a number of components to the project. So it's added a bundle here. It's also added an OIDC login React component, which includes an unauthorized component. It includes an OIDC config component, signed in view that redirects a user after they log in. There's also a README file which we want to open up, and I'm just going to move it over to the side here so we can see it while we work. Let me just resize this window. Okay, that should do. So we look at the README file, just close that, and it says that we need to install a package. So we'll go ahead and do that. We'll just copy this line here, and we'll open up NuGet Package Manager Console, and we'll just paste the line there. So we're installing this Identity Server 4 Access Token Validation package. After that's done, we need to modify our package.json file. We have a couple of dependencies that we have to add, so we'll go over to that file, and down here in the dependencies section we'll add, well, we've already got a dependency section, so we'll just copy these two files that we need to add components, and we'll just paste them right there at the bottom. It says we need to modify our startup.configure services method, so we'll copy this block here, and we'll go to that file, configure services, and we'll paste this just before the add MVC line, so right here. Okay, we have to add a line to the configure method in the same file, so we'll copy that block, and we have to paste this just before the use MVC line, so right here. Okay, and then we have to add an authorized attribute to our controller views. And we're going to add it at the controller level, even though you can also add them at the method level to protect the entire controller. So we're going to open up the actor controller, and we're going to paste it right at the top here. We have a little warning here. We'll just click the this little button here to get the using statements. We need to actually add a login control to our navigation component. So we'll copy that block there. That's the import statement. And we'll go over to our client app, and we'll open up our nav menu, and we'll just paste this import statement at the top here. Just make sure that resolves correctly. It did. Down here in the render method, we want to copy this OIDC login component. We're going to paste that right underneath the navbar brand div there, right here. The other thing we need to do is modify our component views. So we have some imports here that we need to add, so we'll copy this block here. And we're going to go to our actor components. We'll open up the index and we'll paste that import block at the top. And we just want to make sure that these all resolve correctly. Now OIDC client, maybe that hasn't downloaded yet. This guy here might be off by a dot. Let's see. So it just needed another dot. And this guy here probably just needs another dot also. It's not at the current level, it's at the parent level. There we go. Alright, so it was able to find that. We have to save our packages file in order for that to, we haven't saved the file, that's why it didn't. We'll save our packages file, and now npm will download those packages that we added. The next thing we need to do is add a field for our authenticated user. So we'll copy that there, and we have to add it to our state. So here's our state, and we'll just paste it right there. Now this is going to be empty initially. After our user logs in, then they'll have an object. In the constructor, we have a small block of code that actually authenticates our user when they log in. So right before any fetch statements, right after this state block, we're going to paste it. And then what we have to do is we have to modify all of our fetch statements slightly. So we'll comment this out, and we'll copy this little block here and paste it in its place. And let's just make sure that the call is correctly. API, we want actor, and here we want index info. Okay. And the way this modifies the fetch statement is it adds some fetch settings. So we have this method here that comes out of our OIDC config component, which is right here. And what that does is it indicates that the mode is going to be CORS, that we're going to pass credentials to same origin URLs, and that we're going to pass a bearer token. And this token we're going to get from our identity server. So, and this method takes the underscore user field that we added to our state. So that's all we need to do to our fetch statements. Just make sure that we call fetch settings. Down in our render method, we have to add 2 lines of code here. And this is simply going to return an unauthorized message if the user is not authenticated. So we come down here to our render method, render. At the top here, we'll paste that in. And this basically says if state underscore user is null, then we're going to return OIDC unauthorized. So that takes care of the client React component. We do have to add a view to our home controller, and this is just going to do a redirect after our users log in. The view was added by the item template when we ran it, but we have to modify our controller here to return that view. We have to make sure that our tsconfig strict option is turned off, and I think it is because this is a React Turbo Scaffolding project, so we've probably already done that. So that covers the changes that we need to make to our application. Let's just save all of these changes. And just one note here about the fetch statements. Now we have to modify all of our fetch statements to include the fetch settings. And I'm not going to go through that now. I think we have 2 more fetch statements in this component. And now we can go over to our identity server. Let's just get the name of this application. I'm just going to copy the name of our application here so I can paste it in. Okay, I'm just going to move this tab over to here. So we'll log in. You can create a free developer account. So I'm just going to log in. and create an application. So I'm going to use the wizard for that, which makes it really easy. We have a single page application, so we'll click that button, and this is where I'm going to paste my app name. I'll paste it again down here, and then we can clean it up down here and beautify it. We'll just call it Test React TS Application. We click Next, and we need our URL, so we'll come back here to our project. We'll click Properties, and then Debug, and just get our URL from down here. We'll just copy that there, paste it here. Now here's where we need that redirect view that we added to the application. It was on the home controller. It's called Signed In. So this will simply redirect the user after they log in. And we'll paste our URL here again. After they log out, we're just going to redirect them to the root. The root does not require them to be logged in. And here we have to paste it again. Now this indicates that this is our site origin. These are our scopes. We must have these. OpenID is for authentication, and profile allows us to capture the username to display. We're going to check this box down here. This is going to automatically create an API and scope using the same name as the client, and this is just here for convenience. If we didn't check that box, we would have to come up here to the API and manually create an API and a scope. So that's it. We're done. We'll click Finish. And there's our client. Now, it appended our tenant name here. When you create a developer account, it'll give you a tenant. And so we'll just copy that. And we have to paste that back in our application here. So there are two places for that. In the startup file, configure services, we have, let me see here. Here it is. Enter your API name from identity server here, so we'll just paste it right here. Okay, we'll paste it there, and that looks good. And then over on the client side, then we have an OIDC config, and so we have to paste it here also, right here. Enter the client ID from the identity server here, so we'll paste it there. And we have to actually paste it here again. Now this is actually not the client ID. This is the scope, the client scope. But because we checked the box to automatically create a scope with the same name, we're going to have the same name there. Now our URLs are wrong. We need to actually modify those too. So we'll just copy the port is off. We'll just copy the port and paste it here. Okay, we need it there, and we need it here again. So that's it. We should be good now. We'll click Save All. And our dependencies should be good. Let's see. We'll do restore packages just in case. And then we can build our application. And we'll get a message that it's delayed until the packages have downloaded. So that's fine. We'll just wait here a moment. Okay, it's rebuilding now. And we're good. So we'll run our application, debug, start without debugging. And there we go. There we have our application. So it looks just like before with the exception of this login button. So when we click the login button, we should be able to log in. And now that we're logged in, we see our username up above. This is why we needed to check profile. And now we can check our view. And now it comes in. Now it's accessible. If we log out again, then the view becomes inaccessible. And that's it. And that's how we add OIDC Authentication Authorization to React Turbo Scaffolding generated application.